Peace be upon you. Welcome back to Wealth and Wisdom. Today we discuss the mechanism that connects Bitcoin to the real world, called the proof of work. A very important part of the Bitcoin consensus mechanism, certain nodes, referred to as miners, perform Bitcoin's proof of work function to add new Bitcoin blocks to the blockchain. This function validates the complete history of transactions and clears pending transactions. The process of mining is ultimately what anchors Bitcoin security in the physical world. In order to solve blocks, miners must perform trillions of cryptographic computations, which require expending significant energy resources. Once a block is solved, it is proposed to the rest of the network for validation. All nodes, including other miners, verify whether a block is valid based on a common set of network consensus rules. If any transaction in the block is invalid, the entire block is invalid. Separately, if a proposed block does not build on the latest valid block, i.e. the longest version of the blockchain, the block is also invalid. As explained in our earlier videos, Bitcoin network feeds on electricity. The higher the cost to solve a block, the more energy is needed, the more costly the network is to attack. The cost to solve a block represents the tangible resources it requires to write history to the Bitcoin transaction ledger. As the network grows, the network becomes more fragmented, and the economic value compensated to miners in aggregate increases. From a game theory perspective, more competition and greater opportunity cost makes it harder to collude, and all network nodes validate the work performed by miners, which serves as a constant check and balance. A predefined number of Bitcoin are issued in each valid block, that is, until the 21 million limit is reached. The Bitcoin issued in each block combined with network transaction fees represent the compensation to miners for performing the proof of work function. The miners are paid in Bitcoin to secure the network. As part of the block construction and proposal process, miners include the predefined number of Bitcoin to be issued as compensation for expending tangible, real-world resources to secure the network. If a miner were to include an amount of Bitcoin inconsistent with the predefined supply schedule as compensation, the rest of the network would reject the block as invalid. As part of the security function, miners must validate and enforce the fixed supply of the currency in order to be compensated. Miners have material skin in the game in the form of upfront capital costs and energy expenditure, and invalid work is not rewarded. The valid reward paid to miners is halved every 210,000 blocks. The halving is important not just because the supply of newly issued Bitcoin is reduced, but also because it demonstrates that the economic incentives of the network continue to effectively coordinate and enforce the fixed supply of the currency on an entirely decentralized basis. If any miner attempts to cheat, it will be maximally penalized by the rest of the network. Nothing other than the economic incentives of the network coordinate this behavior. That it occurs on a decentralized basis without the coordination of any central authority reinforces the security of the network. Because mining is decentralized and because all miners are constantly competing with all other miners, it is not practical for miners to collude. Separately, all nodes validate the work performed by miners, instantly and at practically no cost, which creates a very powerful check and balance that is divorced from the mining function itself. Blocks are costly to solve but easy to validate. In aggregate, this is a fundamental differentiator between Bitcoin and the monetary systems with which Bitcoin competes, whether gold or the dollar. And the compensation paid to miners for securing the network and enforcing the network's fixed supply is exclusively in the form of Bitcoin. The economic incentives of the currency, compensation, is so strong and the penalty is both so severe and so easily enforced that miners are maximally incentivized to cooperate and perform valid work. By introducing tangible cost to the mining process, by incorporating the supply schedule in the validation process, which all nodes verify, and by divorcing the mining function from ownership of the network, the network as a whole reliably and perpetually enforces the fixed supply, 21 million, of the currency on a trustless basis, while also able to reach consensus on a decentralized basis. This guy Satoshi was nothing short of genius. If you learned something today, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.